Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Bat League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a really strong team I came up with in the Open Great League. We have Froslass in the lead, Lickitung in the safe swap, and Diggersby as the closer. I really like this team, and actually like two of my favourite Pokemon in Go Battle League are Froslass and Diggersby. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you've probably seen these Pokemon showcased several times. These are Pokemon I always love running, and I've always wanted to have a team with both of them on it. I actually just built Lickitung, which is now ranked 3 in the Great League because of the Noctowl nerf. This is a much better safe swap. You can actually beat Medicham in the zeros, and overall it's just a really strong bulky Pokemon here. As you can see, we can pretty easily deal with Sableye. If you're playing this matchup, you might consider going for a shield pretty early, just so that they can't... Oh, the opponent goes for a swap here, which is interesting. You probably invest the shield early to shield the return, and you basically guarantee swap. Now in comes this thing. I probably should be coming back into Diggersby here, but that's absolutely fine. Of course, Froslass can deal super effective damage, and I do want to of course get a nice overfarm of Froslass. If you can get ahead in energy, Froslass is an absolute machine, and I want to try to deal with that Sableye with the residual energy here as well. So we're looking in a good position. Froslass, it's the lead on this team, but of course generally if you don't have the most positive matchup in the lead, you do safe swap it, and it can operate as a closer as well. We're going to go for a neutral Shadow Ball, and you guys are about to see this Pokemon does so much damage. For some reason, I've been seeing quite a lot of Skarmory. This Pokemon is just simply not good anymore. If you guys are still running Skarmory, definitely consider using a different flyer such as Pelipper, Mantine, or Mantine as some people like to call it. Even Altaria and Noctowl are better than Skarmory. Skarmory is probably about the worst one you can run currently. Anyway guys, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Thank you very much for the support in the videos. We are only 7 subscribers off 2.7k. If you're one of those people who do enjoy the videos but have not yet subscribed, do so today. Quickly do that now, it's absolutely free. And of course drop a like in the video as well. Interesting, we've got a Mudshot Toxicroak. Not really that good. Now we have a Lickitung. I might swap into my own Lickitung here. I want to chip it and dip it first. Actually, we go into Diggersby, because I'm thinking even though they get to the Power Whips in 17 turns, which is about the equivalent of 8 Mudshots roughly for me, right? Diggersby is just so thick, and what I'm looking to do is build up to 100 energy, YOLO off the Hyper Blood, bro, I cannot talk, YOLO off the Hyper Beam, and we'll come back into Toxicroak. I wanted to get that nice overfarm because I know that this thing cannot one-shot me. If you're going to run Toxicroak, you just keep running it with counter. It is far less scary with Mudshot. It's a lot spammier, but it's just not scary whatsoever. Surprisingly, the opponent decides to let it go, and they come into Charm, Alolan Ninetales. Well, you know, this is game over, pal. You should not have let that go. That's going to come through. We're in the 2-shield scenario. We come in with Lickitung. The opponent's going to realise that they absolutely made a big mistake, and they're going to concede the match. Deoxys versus Froslass. That's one of the reasons I'm running Froslass. If you guys think about the leads you're seeing currently, Gligar's everywhere, Deoxys everywhere, and of course, Medicham's everywhere. Froslass is such a good option at the moment. It's the ice type that beats all of the other flyers. Well, of course an ice type beats... Yeah, okay, really nice commentary, bro. It's the ice type that beats the fighters, not the flyers. It beats both the flyers and the fighters. No, I like Froslass. It's always a really fun Pokemon to use. If you get an energy lead with it, it's just so deadly. And of course, like I said, it's dealing with a lot of the meta we're seeing currently. Even Steelix does not enjoy neutral avalanches. I think Steelix is a bit bulkier than Galarian Stunfisk, but I do think firing off to avalanches will pretty much get the job done. But of course they will debuff you into Oblivion, so you probably do have to start throwing Shadow Balls on that thing. But yeah, no, Froslass is very, very good. I highly recommend it, and I think in this meta it works perfectly. I'm not sure if this is a team that's well known. This is a team that I came up with myself. It's a pretty obvious team, right? So like, what's Froslass weak to? Sableye, Trevenant, Shadowclaw in general. 2 Pokemon in the back that double resist Shadowclaw, and of course are both weak to fighting. Diggersby and Froslass core has been a thing for a while, but I've been trying to come up with my own signature team for some time, and I think if I'm going to call anything my signature team, it's going to be this. In the front, we've got Froslass, one of my favourite Pokemon. In the back, I've got Diggersby, one of my favourite Pokemon as well. These are my 2 favourite Pokemon in Go Battle League, and since building Lickitung yesterday, it is just so good, man. Like, in this meta, it just operates so well. And yeah, I think this is a really cool team to try. So as you've seen in the meta recently, we've had a ton of Steelix, we're getting a lot of Stinky Binkies, Carbink, and we've got a lot of Bastiodons floating around. Diggersby just absolutely eats their ass for breakfast, bro. Diggersby does not care. This thing gets to moves relatively quickly now. Of course, Hyper Beam has huge nuke potential. If you land that on Medicham, you do like 65-70% damage. Pretty insane stuff, and we're going to come back in with Froslass here. We will have to eat a Psycho Boost for our troubles, but that's absolutely fine. The opponent's going to go for a Thunderbolt, I believe, here. You guys can correct me wrong, but I think it's better to go for Psycho Boost if you can only get off one move. I think it does a little bit more raw damage. Not 100% sure, but I think that is the case. Of course, Psycho Boost debuffs your attack, so it is quite a hard-hitting move. They come back in with Gradient and go for CMP. Froslass has a similar attack stat to Swampert, so it beats most things in the meta in CMP. We get a farm down here, but we still have a shield and we CMP on the Scorching Sands. That's going to be a good game well played, and guys, let me know, man. Like, Steelix seems to be pretty powerful in this meta. I was kind of underrating it, to be honest with you. I was a Steelix hater, if you will, at the beginning of the season. I thought, you know, this is a little bit overhyped. But the more I've seen it and the more I've played buff it a little bit, it's so good in neutral matchups, and it can be just such a pain to deal with. In this next match here, we get a very negative lead. We swap into our safe swap, and the opponent stays in for a moment. They come into Vigorove here, and at this point we're going to go for Body Slam. On Lickitung, Body Slam is more efficient, so if it's a neutral situation, you do go for Body Slam. If, however, it is something like a Zoomer Roll, you go for Power Whip. Now, the opponent CMPs me on the Body Slam, very nice timing, and we're going to look to fire off this next move. It's going to be exceedingly difficult for me to lick down here, so I want to get this into a farm down range for Froslass. Body Slam is resisted, which is perfect for me, so it means the opponent will have to throw a Bulldoze if they wish to do any damage, and with Bulldoze being such a bad move, I would be happy enough to let it go at that point anyway. As you can see, we still single resist counters, of course, unlike Alolan Ninetales. Fairy resists counter, and of course Ice is weak to counter, so on Ninetales it is neutral. However, Ghost double resists fighting, and you still get a single resisted counter. The opponent makes an aggressive swap out. Very happy with that, because I can come into Fickersby, and Fickersby has a very, very positive matchup against Sableye. They're going to YOLO off the return. Again, in this matchup, it's never a bad idea to shield up the first one. I think more often than not, they're going to YOLO a return on the first one. Like I said in a previous video, I noticed Azumarolls are shielding at returns these days, because you can flip the match if you land a return. You can start baiting foul plays and it gets awkward for Azumarol. Likewise with Diggersby, you know, we're up shields in this situation, so we're perfectly fine. But if you're going to shield anything, you probably shield up the first one, because it gives the opponent less opportunity to bait you. They come in with an Ariados. Now this is looking really good for us. We're a ground type, which of course resists bug and poison. We're in a very, very good spot here. The opponent is a bug and poison type. Of course, bug resists ground, but poison is you know, single weak to ground. So we're in a good position here. We're going to overfarm expecting the catch. The opponent comes back in. Now, if this is a Bulldoze, I'll take it. That's no problem at all. It is just a Body Slam. The opponent does not make it to the Bulldoze, and at this point, the opponent's an insta-fring Andy. I'm like, you know what? Nah. You're not going to take out my Froslass, buddy. You're not going to take it out. I'm going to Shadow Ball you. I think with this being debuffed, it may not KO, but it'll be very, very close. Boom. Yeah, it doesn't quite KO. That was a mistake, to be honest with you guys, because I've got a Hyper Beam loaded on Diggersby. I was trying to kind of showcase Froslass here, but I'm just kind of showing you guys the power of it. We do still reach the move, and even though it's not the thickest Pokemon, it definitely can get the job done, and that's a good game well played. Yeah, so I had a Hyper Beam loaded on Diggersby. All I needed to do was just let it go and Hyper Beam it, but of course, being a Froslass showcase, we do want to showcase it as much as possible. And let's hop into the next match. Hunter, so we've got two very negative leads in a row. We're going to swap into Lickitung, and in comes Linoon. Now, of course, Home Slice Henry was showcasing this Pokemon recently. This thing has access to Dig and Body Slam, and of course, it's on the Snarl fast move. I think this Pokemon actually got Trailblaze as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to shield up a potential Dig, because I don't know what this matchup is like. I'm assuming because my Licks are resisted, that Linoon can take this matchup. But Licki is Ficky, and I think we're in a really good position to take this match. Generally, when you're throwing a one-turn move versus a free-turn move, you try to do 2 licks and then throw your move to optimize timing as much as possible and give yourself as much damage and energy. The opponent goes for another Body Slam, and we're going to look to just YOLO this off here. Unfortunately, I CMP the opponent. That was a big mistake right there, and I think this actually may KO. Sometimes whenever you're thinking about optimizing your timing, I was trying to throw 2 and then throw, but I ended up over-tapping and throwing 3. Now at this range, we can actually get a huge farm down, and this could work out very well for us. Back in comes Hunter. This thing cannot eat anything. No need to throw Shadow Ball whatsoever here. We're going to YOLO off the Avalanche, and we're going to come into Diggersby. Now, Hunter has access to Ice Punch, but I know I can definitely eat 1 or 2 of these moves. Even though this is super attack weighted, that does not get us into the yellow, and we can definitely eat another one. I'm going to go for the Scorching Sands. There's an argument to be made for shielding up the first one, because of course we do get the attack debuff. Now, I know at this point, I've already lived one of these moves, but I am going to sort of protect my Diggersby a little bit here, and look to try and commit to a farm down. The opponent's going to get to 2 moves anyway, so I might as well just shield up one of them and look to farm it the whole way down. The opponent comes into Steelix. Now this is looking a little bit tricky. We need to go for a bit of a combination play between these 2 Pokemon. We do land the move. Can we get to the next one? Yes, we can. And this is going to all but take them out. I think at this point, I'll probably swap out to Froslass and try to force them to throw energy. And at that point, just commit to the farm down with Diggersby. I don't think one move is going to take us out unless it's a crunch. Of course, it is Psychic Fangs, which is the preferred moveset. Back in comes Hunter. These are doing a ton of damage, but we can't farm it down, and that's good games well played. And in the first set, guys, we go 5-0 with this team, and you're going to actually have a look at my win percentage here. It is pretty high. It's above 60% anyway. I think at the time of recording this, it was like 65% maybe. It's down to around 61%, and I want you guys to keep in mind, I was using the Paldean starters, and I went 1-4 in a couple of sets. I think it was 66 out of 105. Pretty decent win rate there. Yeah, I went 1-4 in 2 of those sets using the Paldean starters. Definitely very tough to use. Now, in this next set, we do go a little bit negative here, and we do start seeing some less optimal and less comfortable leads. As you guys seen, we had a Hunter lead, a Sableye lead, and Azumarill is a very tricky Pokemon. It's not particularly good for Froslass, but it's not particularly good for Diggersby either. Lickitung is our best option for this, and you know, sometimes you have to go into your hard swap, and in comes Medicham. You guys are about to see the power of Lickitung. I think actually on this occasion they went straight for Power Punch, so you may not see it here. A little bit unfortunate, right? But if we can get off 2 body slams, that'll actually KO the Medi with all of the lick damage, right? So we're going to keep licking it. Look how much these licks are doing. Can we get to the body slam in time? We do get to the body slam, but we die with the move. And at this point, I'm going to commit to a farm down. I might respect the Psychic here. The opponent goes for another pop. And at this point, they're, I believe, not even farming up. So I'm just going to let this go. Pretty annoying to shield up a pop. It is an Ice Punch, so I'm more than happy just to let that go. But they're absolutely ripping through us here. But we do have a ton of energy. Definitely very unfortunate shield, and I think that may be costly for us. In comes Toxapex. Now, we have an amazing answer for this Pokemon. However, we still have a Azumarill, which is going to be a little bit tricky. One Scorching Sands will not KO, and we're going to look to CMP the opponent on the first brine. Now, I know that an Ice Beam or a Hydro Pump from Azumarill is definitely going to do more than a brine from Toxapex, so I'm more than happy to let this first move go, and hopefully try to debuff the Azumarill's attack. I think that's basically my hope to win this match right here. And we're going to look to, yep, CMP actually on the Scorching Sands, because I want to try and apply the debuff as soon as possible. That comes through. We do get the attack drop, and again, I think I'm still going to shield the first one. You have a 30% chance of getting the debuff. The opponent's on Ice Beam. That's a nightmare for us. I'm going to look to fire this off before they get to the Ice Beam again, because generally speaking, I do need to debuff this as much as possible, and try to maybe even catch a move on Froslass. I don't make the catch, unfortunately. And I think this Ice Beam will KO. Yeah, we do actually get off the Scorching Sands last second, but I think it's just a little bit too late. Too little too late, folks. And we definitely needed to catch that move, and even so, yeah, in comes this thing. We have a ton of energy in Froslass, so if I had got off another move, I might have been able to do something, but I don't think I was ever getting the resisted farm down, so unfortunate. I think shielding up the Power Punch is what cost us the game. We could have shielded up one of those Ice Beams, and that would have been a lot more comfortable. Again, we have another Azumarill lead. It's funny when you go 5-0, you start seeing the Core Breaker in the lead. So we're going to see what we do with it this time. I quite like how I played this last time. I think it was just unfortunate that it had Ice Beam. I think the recommended moveset this season is Hydro Pump and Play Rough. Now the opponent, they play the exact same way here. We catch the Play Rough this time, which is great. They could have Play Rough and Ice Beam, but we just hope that it's Play Rough and Hydro Pump. We're going to overfarm and go for the Power Whip. Of course, Body Slam is double resisted here. You don't generally want to go for it. Now, whenever they get into this health range, if you land a Power Whip, you can look to farm up. We shield the return, which is great as well. You can look to farm up and just go for Body Slam at this point. I'm committing to a lick down. I throw after 8 Shadow Claws just before the opponent gets to the return, meaning we'll have residual energy. The opponent shields it up, and I think I'm happy to take switch here at this point. Licki is just really good against, of course, Azumarill. That return would have looked to KO. And I'm going to swap into Diggersby to try and preserve my Lickitung. I'm just thinking that they're bringing a Sableye into a Lickitung, which generally is not the most favourable matchup for Sableye. So I'm thinking that it may have a good matchup in the back. We get the debuff, which is pretty huge. And because we actually landed the Shadow Ball this game, this is in a much more comfortable position. The opponent goes for a Play Rough, which is very interesting. I'm not sure why they wouldn't just commit to the Hydro Pump. In comes Trevenant, and you guys are going to see the opponent shields that one up. This match is now more favourable for Trevenant because, of course, Fire Punch is super effective. And generally speaking, 2 Fire Punches will get the job done. Yep, we're going to go for another Scorching Sands. The only good thing here is that we can probably not get farmed down by this thing, especially with the attack drop. We come into Lickitung. I make a mistake here and go for Body Slam. I'm just trying to apply some damage to this thing before they look to go for Seed Bomb. Maybe that's working out fine. Maybe 2 Body Slams is better than 1 Power Whip and Lick Down. But I think generally speaking, I should have really went for Power Whip in this position. So that's definitely a bit of a misplay there. It was just a bit of a lapse in concentration on my part, sort of forgetting the fact that it is resisted. Back in comes Azu. Can they get to the move in time? We do actually CMP them on the presumably Ice Beam. And this is going to look to take them out. and at this point traveling super low, we can lick it down, and despite making some mistakes there, I was able to take that win, and good games, very well played. So yeah, a zoom roll can be tricky. Oftentimes a zoom roll does have Sableye in the back as well, and in this next game we get a very positive lead. I do go for the catch because I don't like eating a Psycho Boost on my Froslass, and I think once they debuff themselves, they always go for that. The opponent comes into a Pidgeot, which again, it's kind of good that I've drawn this out. Unfortunately guys, trying to throw in good timing, I CMP the opponent and they're going to debuff me before I get off a move. Super frustrating for me. I was trying to throw in between their sick wing attack, but of course I CMP'd them, super annoying. Sometimes it's better just to play it safe and just get off the move. You don't generally want to give them a free wing attack, but you know, you definitely don't want to try and CMP them, that's the worst case scenario. Now, I'm not expecting a Brave Bird here, and even if they do, we can farm it down. And we're going to swap into Froslass because the opponent misaligned the timer a little bit, and we're going to look to fire off an Avalanche immediately, which will of course like to one-shot the Pidgeot. The opponent is staying in here, they're down 2 shields, and I'm expecting the opponent to go for a Brave Bird and dip here. Again, this could be an offer, yeah, it's a bait opportunity for them as well, and in comes Umbreon. Now again, you guys can look at my switch clock. The switch timer is now misaligned by 30 seconds if you have a look in the bottom right. Yeah, you can see like in about 20 seconds my switch clock is coming back up. So I realize all I need to do is keep throwing charge moves as quick as I can get to them. After throwing this one charge move, I should be able to swap back out and look to realign and try to get this Froslass back on Pidgeot later in the match. Yeah, we come in with Diggersby, and what I'm going to look to do is probably go for a Hyper Beam. I think I do go for an Overfarm here, because being able to Hyper Beam the Pidgeot could be quite a win condition for me. So I'm going to look to Overfarm, and I might even throw Scorching Sands here and try to come into a farm down. This thing cannot do the most damage to me. Back in comes Pidgeot. This thing is going to get met and greeted by a Hyper Beam, and that's going to put that bird in the frying pan. Good night, Pidgeot, and in comes Deoxys. Now, can we actually reach this move in time? Are we going to force the opponent to throw? We get to the Hyper Beam. This is going to do heavy damage, and that's the amazing thing about Diggersby this season. Look how much damage we're doing to Deoxys. Unintentional catch on Lickitung. I was looking to come in and get some licks through. They do go for Psycho Boost, so that's not too bad. All I need to do is wait down my timer and look to try and get an Overfarm. I think here maybe the opponent was still locked in. They're going to go for another move, which is going to look to get me quite low. However, it depends how much energy the other thing has. In comes Umbreon. We do get off the Avalanche. This match is going to be super close. Can this take out the Umbreon? It just about doesn't. Does the opponent get to the move? They do not. And this is going to be really close. We're farming it down. The clock's about to come up. Does the opponent get to a move? They get to a last second move. So super good game. The opponent had some difficult Pokemon for me to deal with. They had Pidgeot and of course Umbreon. Super tough team for my backline, but we made it really close, and that's a good game well played. So yeah, in comes Sableye. Once again, we're going to go for Power Whip. The opponent just goes straight for a foul play, so that's perfectly fine by me. If it's a foul play, I'll let it go, because they're going to need like 2 more foul plays plus all of their Shadow Claws to take me out. They really need to land a return in this matchup to take me out. So Power Whip coming through, that's going to get them super low, and at this point I can go straight Body Slam. Now I think investing a shield here is perfectly fine. Okay, we're just going to play this out in zeros, assuming they go straight for a foul play again. At this point, going for Body Slam is perfectly fine. The opponent's getting super low, and with the lick damage we can take this in the zeros. Good game. And let's see what comes back in. In comes Sand Slash. Now what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to force the opponent to throw. A Power Whip does a decent little chip into this thing, and the opponent throws the Ice Punch. So we're going to come in with Diggersby. This is a perfect answer to Alolan Sand Slash. Of course they can outpace the Ice Punches, but if they're going to outpace me, they're going to have to throw free. Look at this, doesn't even get us into the yellow. In comes Nidoqueen. This is not an answer. I repeat folks, this is not an answer. We're going to look to YOLO off the Scorching Sands and come in with Froslass. Can we farm it down before the debuff is? Unfortunately, they do get off the debuff, but that's perfectly fine. I've got a nice little overfarm at this point. Poison Fang coming through, and all I need to do is just basically launch a Shadow Ball. We're going to try and CMP the opponent and look to, you know, apply as much damage as possible, or of course get the shield, which it will. The unfortunate thing is they debuffed us, so they can farm us down all that much quicker, and this is still a little bit tricky. Now, I can still eat another Ice Punch, like I said. I'm going to shield up this first one, because once again we have a chance to debuff the opponent, and once again we're going to shield up the second one, because this will make it a lot easier for me to survive and not get farmed down. Now, all I need to do is get to back-to-back Scorching Sands. I would normally recommend that you would build up to back-to-back and then throw, but if you have a chance to debuff, you just throw it instantly. Now, on the third time around, Scorching Sands is reached in 5. Now, can we still live this? Diggersby is thick. We just about live it, and we do get to the move at the very last second. Good games well played to the opponent. And Diggersby is just way too thick for them. Love this Pokemon. And again, we had a Sableye lead, very negative lead, but we were able to overcome it with Lickitung on the safe swap. And good games very well played to the opponent. Next game we have a Deoxys lead. Now last time I played this I tried to catch the Psycho Boost because they just Psycho Boost and dip, but I decided I'm going to try and play alignment here this time to see if it works out a little bit better. They come in with Stinky Binky. I stayed in way too long. I throw to Powder Snows. I was a little bit unsure of what just came in, I don't have reflexes for carving just yet, and I try to CMP the opponent, but because of the one-turn swap, this was a terrible play, because as you're about to see, Moonblast coming through gets the debuff. Unfortunate, guys. Sometimes, like I said, you just apply the damage instantly, because look, we get the attack drop. We could have had that attack drop half an hour ago. So yeah, in that situation, with Diggersby, just get off the moves, and try to apply the debuff as soon as you can. Now you're about to see, like, this is starting to get us low. Like, they've got us into the yellow. This is a rock type versus a ground type, and they're getting us low. In comes Medicham. Can we get this Scorching Sands off? We're going to commit to the Hyper Beam. We do get to the Hyper Beam, and we're forcing the opponent to throw energy. It is tempting to shield here, because of course we can apply heavy damage, but we do force the opponent to throw energy, and that's perfect in this situation. Now, I'm absolutely loaded with this thing, and I'm thinking, despite the counters being super effective, Lickitung can still deal with Deoxys. So we're going to look to try and get to another move. Most likely this will be Ice Punch, but I'm happy enough to shield it up at this point and try to get the opponent's final shield with Shadow Ball, and then maybe look to swap into Lickitung and try and clean up from there. This is still looking tricky because we have two counter users versus our normal type, but Licki of course does super effective damage to both of them. Now I'm thinking here a Psychic from Medicham probably does more than a Psycho Boost from Deoxys or a Thunderbolt from Deoxys. That's my thinking. Again, if I'm wrong, you can let me know. As you can see, these licks are really adding up. The thing about Defense Deoxys that you guys should be aware of is if you have a one-turn Pokemon, for example, if you have Dragonair, Pokemon using Lick or Water Gun, those Pokemon are amazing against Deoxys because it has a really high defense stat, but has a really low HP stat, and one-turn moves against a low HP Pokemon just completely rips through it. Can we get to the Body Slam? We just about do. And this is going to be a race. Can we farm this down in time? How much damage will this do? It doesn't do quite enough, and unfortunately the opponent has got off a move on Froslass, and that's a super close game. It's funny that we're winning the lead, but it's turning to be quite tricky. Such a weird team, bro. Deoxys lead, Medicham in the back, ABA Fighter, and of course in the rare candy set, we do go 2-3. Good games well played, guys. I wanted to show you like an honest view of this team. I definitely could have won some of the matches I lost, but overall I really enjoyed this team, and it is a team I will use for gaining elo. I think in the current meta, this team is just so good. Unfortunately, I did not see a single Gligar while using Froslass, but you hate to see that, of course. Of course, whenever you use something else, I see them everywhere, but that's just how it goes sometimes. But with all the Medichams, all the Deoxys, and all of the Pokemon that are weak to Froslass, and generally with how good Diggersby and Lickitung are, I think this is a very strong team, and I highly recommend trying it out. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time for a brand new video.